Hello, you're listening to the IoT Weekly Podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode number 21 of the IoT Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Gearforge Software. And hey, I tell you what, look at that. Our podcast is now old enough to drink. Yes, we just turned 21.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I know. Isn't that great, everyone?
I know, it's exciting. I should take it out Friday night.
Yes, we'll take them out Friday night and get them trashed. So we've got a very exciting show today. We've got another interview with Frank Mong. He's the Chief Operating Officer from Helium. Just wait, guys. This is just fantastic. I love the interview. We recorded it earlier this morning, and it's just wonderful. My name is Cliff, and I'm joined by my co-host and good friends, Matthew and Zeineb. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Going good, Zeineb and Matthew, and what have you guys been up to?
Well, I'll tell you what. I have been training with my squad in Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront. That has been a lot of fun. My squad being you, Cliff.
Yes. Yes, it's been intense training.
Yes, we are maybe not. We're sort of still in basic training, I think.
Yeah, I think we got to work on, like you said, our communication.
Yeah.
A lot of progress.
Yes.
That's right. Well, in any case, it's been a ton of fun. So that is great. And then last weekend, played around with a little bit with Microsoft C++ compiler tools. So basically what I mean here is it's kind of interesting with recent versions of Visual Studio, they've made it modular basically. So you kind of get the Visual Studio installer and you can install the little bits and pieces that you need. And so they've made it pretty easy to get just the C++ tool chain and then use it in Visual Studio Code, which is what I prefer. So that was kind of fun to play around with, see what they've changed, and yeah, it's good.
So no longer the mammoth install of the past?
Yeah, it used to be like you'd have to get Visual Studio. Well, there were other ways actually, but you kind of had to go around a little bit. The easiest way was just to install Visual Studio, and for the most part, once you started selecting things, you were guaranteed to have like 12 gigabytes of stuff that downloaded and installed, and now it's a lot more like pick and choose. So sure. It's nice, and I don't want to use Visual Studio. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just overkill for most things. I would way rather use Visual Studio Code, which is much lighter weight, and they've made it easy to do that. So very cool.
That's good to hear. This new Microsoft.
The new Microsoft, man.
That's what I'm going with. The new Microsoft.
Amazing.
Zeineb, how about you? Any C++ in your future?
Maybe not. I mean,
well, actually, you are playing with it, whether you know it or not, with your Squawk box there.
You see, when they ask me things like this, I'm like, I don't know all the technicalities. All I know is that it makes beeping noises like this, and and I'm trying to figure it out.
Yes, great. She's done an awesome job with her Arduino project.
That is fantastic.
Super loving it. We're trying to get Britney Spears songs to play with this buzzer, but I have a feeling it will sound horrible.
No, it's still, I don't know.
I think that's fantastic.
I'll dance to it, guys.
Okay, we need a video for the Twitter page.
We'll get a GIF of that.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Cliff, what about you?
Well, hold on. So didn't you get snowed in, Zeineb, just out of pure curiosity?
I did get snowed in last weekend, but we still got out to Dairy Queen. It was empty. And then I spent the rest of the time playing with Sword Art Online props and Harry Potter figurines.
Nice.
I was living the dream.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome. What can I say?
The snow.
I know. Just get all cozy. Well, what about you, Cliff?
So I'm right there with Matthew as far as the squad in Battlefront. So it's Matthew, my son, and I, and golly, that is just fun. And Matthew and my son are both so much better than me. It's awesome watching them both. It's cool seeing them just dominate the leaderboards, quite a few. It probably helped that we had nobody playing against us also in a couple rounds, but we'll take it.
Yeah, we did have a few rounds that maybe the opposition was not so
it was
good,
pretty
meaning
light.
there was literally nobody on the other team.
Yep. But we still got some good points out of it. The other piece is I actually got the Helium Atom up and running. So I got that the previous weekend, but actually hooked up a temperature and humidity sensor to it and got everything working great, sending it up to the cloud. So just really impressed with the overall device, Matthew.
Yeah, and that's super cool because that ties into our interview today.
It
so this is one of the dev kits, right, from Helium?
Yep. So we got to test it out.
Yeah, that's great. And you had nothing but good things to say. And today we're going to be having an awesome interview with Frank from Helium, and he'll fill us in on all the great work that they're doing. So very excited for that.
Yep. Zeineb, do we have any feedback?
Well, we don't have feedbacks, but the numbers do speak for themselves when you have 863 followers.
Sick.
I know.
Nice.
Super excited about it. But I mean, we'd love to hear from everyone. And if you have any feedback, you can always shoot us an email or message at podcast@gearforgesoftware.com. Or you could, DM me on Twitter. I'd love to say hi. And we're at Gearforge IoT. I think I got it right. Did I?
You did.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Nicely done.
All right. And now it's time for a word from our sponsor,
Nice.
the IoT Fuse Conference 2018, which aims to unite accomplished doers, makers, and hackers with the brightest executives, entrepreneurs, and innovators. It's now in its 4th year and brings together a robust community of IoT practitioners, developers, and makers who strive to build a deeper understanding of where the Internet of Things is today, where it's headed in the future, and how IoT-associated technologies and use cases can improve the physical world in which we live. You can learn more at iotfuse.com, and we hope to see you there. Both Cliff and I will be there. We'll be at the trade show, and also we have a workshop, don't we, Cliff?
We do have a workshop. So it's practical IoT machine learning, in parentheses, not just for data scientists.
Yes, and we have a date and time for it now, too.
Yep. Go ahead.
We will be, we're on stage at 8 a.m. on May 2nd, and it's a 2-hour workshop. So
I wonder if it is a stage or if it's a flat one.
I'm assuming it's not a stage. I just
couldn't
think of a good word. Yeah.
Okay.
We will be workshopping starting at 8 a.m.
Yes. So bring your coffee.
Exactly. Yes, it will be early. And I believe the workshops are at the University of St. Thomas. It's at the downtown Minneapolis campus. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Matthew would be happy to sign autographs.
I sure will.
Hey, would you sign my autograph? I'll just bring it in, be at the back saying, hello, I have no idea what's happening.
That would be fantastic.
Yes.
Yes. And you can check us out, iotfuse.com/sessions/machine learning for IoT, dashes in between those. So check us out on the iotfuse.com site. And it does sound like we've had lots of signups, so we're filling up fast. If you're interested in attending, it seems like you got to sign up right away or you might not get a spot. So very exciting. So now that we've talked about IoT Fuse, it is time for us to talk about the exciting interview that we have today. So we've got Frank Mong with us from Helium. He is the Chief Operating Officer there. And I got to tell you, I'm so excited about the product that they're offering. I think that this conversation will really be interesting to our listeners. Hello. Today we're thrilled to chat with Frank Mong, Chief Operating Officer from Helium, a company whose mission it is to make it easier to build connected devices. Frank, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Cliff. Really excited to be here.
We're so happy to have you here.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. I'm so much looking forward to this interview. So, Frank, just to get started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe what you are passionate about?
Absolutely. It's an interesting journey. I came out of cybersecurity for about 20 years, where I started off my life in sort of in the banking side before firewalls were even firewalls, and we were writing our own code to protect ATM networks.
That's
and
amazing.
Off, in college, I was an intern, and I was basically pen testing the firewall from the outside, and that became a career.
That was the Wild West back then.
Yeah, 20 years ago. So
yeah,
it's
wow.
certainly dating me. Yeah.
That's so cool. So, I've got an interest in security in general. Can you tell us some more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the sort of changes have happened, as I mentioned, from firewalls to where we are today, with everything being done online, not just sort of getting your money from an ATM machine. Things have gotten certainly extremely complicated. I think the way that the breaches are happening now, everything from, I wouldn't even say totally malicious breaches, from the Facebook situation where advertisers can capture your data inadvertently or unintentionally and cause some potential shifts in how we vote and our political process, to something that's very, very damaging, such as some of the past breaches with retailers or credit card companies, where they lose your information completely and your identity gets stolen. I think all of those things are I hate to say it, but it seems like these are commonplace now. You should just expect that if you're going to do business online, you're going to lose something, a part of you, some information, right?
Yeah. Just over the weekend, I was seeing report about a company that should have known better, storing passwords in plain text.
Oh yeah.
I thought we were past that.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
I bet.
You'd be surprised.
So that's all really interesting. So what brought you from that background in security to what you're doing now at Helium?
Yeah, I think for me, it's about new frontiers and getting back out into the jungle. I think cybersecurity is it's always changing, always evolving, but certainly no longer the Wild West or the unknown jungle, unexplored. And I was really itching to go do that again after sort of establishing myself in a particular industry or market for 20 years. And so it was time to do something different. And I really set out to look at other sectors that are going through massive changes, including, big data has gone through some changes. Certainly there's machine learning, artificial intelligence. But I think what attracted me the most was just the changes that are happening within the hardware realm beyond software. And in the hardware realm, when you think about things that are pushing the boundaries, I kind of think of IoT in that way. When you think about Internet of Things, you think about sensors or machinery or devices that were once sitting alone by themselves, can now all of a sudden connect and can do more or do something different. That's sort of not done. That we're not living in the Jetsons age like we should be, right? Like the three of us, we should be, having a hologram session where we can see each other even though we're not next to each other. Or, if you like my new wallet, I should be able to like telegram that to you somehow, and bam, you get to feel it and touch it. But none of that's happening. And I feel like a lot of reasons why we don't live in the Jetsons age is because this Internet of Things, this new generation of hardware hasn't come, and the innovation hasn't gotten there yet. There's still a lot of technology that's really hard to do. Hardware is super hard to build. There's no standard. It's so fragmented. And Helium was trying to tackle that. Helium is trying to make the Jetsons world a reality by enabling everyone to build what they want to build and spur that innovation and really cut down the jungle, like really kind of set a place so that there's hope, right? And so I kind of, that's what really attracted me.
Oh, that's really cool. And I mean, yeah, it is the Wild West. So you started in the Wild West of security, and here you are all these years later. Now it's the Wild West of of IoT, and Helium is trying to tame it, is what it sounds like.
Oh, for sure. You know, the two founders, Sean Fanning and Amir Helium, are unlikely characters in IoT, right? Sean Fanning is from Napster,
Right.
expert in sort of peer-to-peer networking, or sort of the founder of that. Amir Helium was the champion of Quake back in like 1998 or something.
Oh, sure.
I mean, why would these two guys, right, do this? But you know, I think if anyone listening would probably think about this as well. There's really no veterans or experts in IoT. It's going to be everyone coming from different places, whether it be it peer-to-peer or online gaming or cybersecurity. But the culmination of this is think differently, tackle this problem, make it easy in hardware, make it easy for everyone else that wants to build applications to do it easily and simply. So Helium's, you know, hopefully Helium takes off like the element.
I like it.
Yeah.
So would you like to expand? You sort of gave us the I think the brief version of the Helium mission. Would you like to expand on that mission?
Yeah, you know, the mission is really to make it super simple, super easy for anyone that wants to build an application for IoT to do so and focus on their area, whether it be their application, the cloud backend, or even their sensors, the advancements of the edge, you know, on the edge compute. Helium's sort of that connectivity stack, that 900 megahertz or 2.4 gigahertz stack, where Wi-Fi is not viable because there isn't any. Bluetooth sucks. We all know this, right? It's not reliable. Right. And if you try to use cellular, you're going to pay. Either you're going to pay money on a monthly subscription for cellular connectivity, or you're going to pay in the form of power, right? It draws a lot of power. And so Helium's trying to solve that low power, wide area problem. And so what we've done is we've built some hardware, which we called an Atom. An Atom, think of this as a communications module. It's a radio that's got 900 megahertz and 2.4 gigahertz on it. So it's a little device that you can plug into your edge compute, your sensor, and we have a gateway, and the gateway is there listening, plugged into some power somewhere. It's listening for the radio, it's listening for the broadcast. It takes the broadcast and essentially pipes it to the internet, and that could be done either through some cellular connectivity or through Ethernet in your broadband connection, and pipes it to our Helium cloud router. So we're there collecting that data, and then what we do is in our cloud router and in our dashboard, we set up channels for you so that you can then pipe that information and that data to either, you know, Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud Platform or Salesforce.com, or through MQTT to your own, you know, to your own private services or private cloud, or, you know, your Heroku web services.
And those channels you mentioned to, let's say, AWS or Azure, those are already built into the cloud platform, right? Yeah,
absolutely. It's really quite simple. You know, if you have your Google Cloud Platform set up and you've got your Azure set up with specific programs or projects or IoT projects, all you have to do is register that project and use that registered name in the Helium dashboard. And what we'll do is we'll associate your cloud container name to the device. And so if you have a set of devices that you want to point to that, we'll make sure that connection happens. It's essentially invisible. So we've done a lot of engineering on the back end so that it just looks plug and play.
And so that's basically so that I, as an engineer, I can get the data. Basically, makes it easy for me to get the data up to the cloud to where I'm used to using it, right?
Right.
So, yep, wherever my application is running.
Sure. Yeah. So if you have a visualization tool, or you're tracking temperature from a particular location, the temperature will come through and it will go straight to your container where you're pulling information to visualize, you know, your temperature over time.
Oh, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah. So, or it could be, your so workflow operations ticketing tool. Like, when there's an off signal that comes through, it generates a ticket in your system in Salesforce, so that you call a truck out there. That's a signal for a fault in a line, and now you deploy your maintenance person out there to go fix something automatically.
Gotcha. And then I'm just curious, so what is the role of the Helium dashboard in that whole pipeline?
Yeah, the role of the dashboard is essentially, think of it as a management platform for the radio, for the Atom module that's connected to the sensor. And that dashboard, it can be staging to do two-way communications, over-the-air updates for particular primitives or variables. Like, for example, if we talked about temperature earlier, instead of triggering a signal at 70 degrees, Fahrenheit, let's change that to 60 degrees Fahrenheit on the edge compute machine. You can do that through our dashboard. Our dashboard can take that information and send it back via RF back to the radio and change the actual parameter on the edge compute to move from 70 to 60 degrees and trigger a signal. So that's one way to use a dashboard. Another way to use a dashboard is for provisioning, onboarding and provisioning thousands of devices that you have in the field. You can line them all up, provision it using our dashboard, so that all the sensors are now connected to channels to the cloud, so that at the end, your application or your reporting tool gets all the information automatically.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that is such a big problem, Frank.
Yeah,
I have a client with that problem right now.
Yeah, we hear that quite a bit. I think there's a lot of, look, if you're not new to IoT and you're an IoT veteran listening, there's a lot of sort of wide area, low power stuff out there. We're not the only ones doing it. I think others are doing a decent job, right? Whether it be at LoRa or Particle or Multi-Tech or Actility. There's a number of folks out there. I think they do a decent job. I don't think any of them have tried to tackle this entire supply chain of IoT management in one, and essentially said, look, enough is enough. There's too much tinkering. There's too many things that you have to do to get anything working. Let's just build the Apple version of IoT so that it's just plug and play, and let people go build what they want to build.
Right. Yeah. That makes lots of sense. I want to touch on something you said just a minute ago. So you mentioned from the dashboard. So I could basically, I can communicate with that Atom radio, right?
Yes.
Directly from the dashboard. And so I can use that communication channel basically to configure my device.
You absolutely can. Yeah, so one of the cool things that we can do that maybe others aren't able to do via RF is you can package up, let's say, an edge compute update. Let's say you want to update your machine on the edge, and you've got 1,000 of them. You can create a package and store it in your AWS or Azure, stage it essentially, and then you can use our dashboard to feed that through and update your edge device. Now that works as long as your edge device OS allows for that, right? So there's some gotchas here, but certainly the pipe is there. So imagine we've established the capability using 900 megahertz to do that now, bidirectionally, which I don't think anyone has done before.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So,
Frank, do you want to talk a little bit about what kind of problems you're solving for your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple I think that are super interesting. One that I kind of find pretty unique is something that we worked with Twilio on. One of their customers is in agriculture and precision agriculture and growing different types of crops and trying to optimize efficiency on water usage based on time of year, based on minerality of the soil itself. And so what they did is they built a sensor that can measure water content measure certain types of minerals needed to grow. I can't remember what they're growing. Maybe it was kale or spinach or lettuce or something simple. And what they wanted was a low power, radio module that they could use to communicate that information back to their data center on Google Cloud. And so they used our Atom. They set up a couple of our elements, which is our gateways, and they were able to collect soil information so that they can time the watering of the soil more effectively. And that, that hasn't been able to be done in that simple of a way before. I think they've tried a number of things like cellular, but it at scale becomes cost prohibitive.
Right.
I don't think they want to pay $5 or $10 a month for each soil sensor. I just don't think anyone wants to pay that. Over time, it just adds up. But if they could do that by setting up a simple, low cost, low power environment, that's definitely feasible, and it adds a lot of value from their perspective in saving water, but also long term a better strategy of when to plant, what kind of, what they should plant, really farm at the right time of year with the right type of soil. So that was a really interesting use case, and the sensors out there can last, battery life was about a year to 2 years, depending on how often they were collecting data, and they were able to actually, do something positive, for what they're trying to do. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's a great use case, and I think it might be a good time to touch on something. So you mentioned they tried some other things, and some of the options are just cost prohibitive. It might be a good time to talk a little bit about how pricing at Helium is different.
Sure.
How does pricing work?
Yeah. So today we're pretty simple pricing. You can go on to SparkFund and you can buy our little radio modules called the Atoms for like $50 each, and that's in an XP form factor. And you can buy one of our Ethernet gateways from SparkFund for $100, and the gateway's there to listen to the radio. Or if you want a radio, so you want a gateway that is has a cellular backhaul, it's about $400 from Mauser, which is another one of our distributors. And the cool thing about that cellular gateway is that we'll actually pay for the cellular backhaul until December 31st, 2019. And so that product right now, if you just want to try it and you want to test it out, you can go to Mauser and get it for $400, and the cellular piece of it's free.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so when you think about that hardware, I think that hardware investment's fairly low if you're able to use it and it's viable for a number of years. And then on the cloud side, the management, the provisioning, the connections to your data center or to a public cloud environment, all of that's included in our pricing. There's no extra charge for that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I mean, I think, when I see it, what I think is, I think about all the work that I don't have to do.
Yeah.
To get all that stuff connected and working. So, so I think that's really interesting. Were there any other use cases? You said you had two that you thought were particularly interesting.
Yeah, there's another one, a customer of ours called Wallow, WALLO. They're trying to solve a problem for communities or buildings or condominiums where they have gates, whether it be a door gate or a garage gate. I think when there's multi-tenant communities and there's security gates, the problem becomes no one really knows if the gate's closed or the garage door is closed, or if it's secured. And so one of the things this company has done is built a very simple sensor that notifies, either it's building security or management of the property that, hey, the gate is ajar, or the walkway isn't secure, or the garage gate has not been closed. These guys, when you think about this problem, this gate could be outdoors, the gate could be on a ranch in the middle of nowhere in Texas, or it could be in a condominium, and the garage gate is three stories down in underground, like in Miami or something. And what they started out with was they started out trying to make this work on cellular. They looked at, Huawei and T-Mobile and tried a number of things to get that to work. But the cellular stops working when you're underground. They could not get the cell signal out from underneath in a underground garage. The cellular doesn't work in the middle of nowhere in Texas when there's no cell tower. And so that connectivity wouldn't work. There's no Wi-Fi nearby. There's no Bluetooth. So they came to us. They found us on a webinar we did with Google, and they tried our stuff. And I think similar to your experience, they got the connectivity piece working within 5 minutes. It was ridiculous how quickly that worked. And I think more exciting to them was it worked underground, right? 900 megahertz, as you and I both know, can break through concrete.
Right.
And so that was super exciting to them. And so now they've standardized on Helium, and they're selling, security gate monitoring or, compound multi-tenancy, security using the Helium connectivity, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned a couple of times, Frank, how easy Helium, or that's the goal, right? The aim is to be easy to get everything started. Can you just walk me through the simplest possible quick start scenario? What are we looking at?
Yeah. I'll try to do this because everyone's listening, so I'll try to be as descriptive as I can. And I went through this process yesterday, just trying to make sure that I remember everything. But on the actual edge compute side, so think of this as the machine or the sensor that's going to be remotely placed somewhere. You'll need our Atom module, which is the 900 megahertz, 2.4 gigahertz radio, and you'll want to have that plugged into either your sensor, or if you're just building a sensor, your Arduino or Raspberry Pi board. You'll need to have your code. So you need to have your OS or your code for that Arduino. You plug our Atom in, you power that thing up, right? And then you power our gateway up. And the gateway is, think of that as a simple, it looks like an Apple TV device or something.
It does, yeah, totally.
Yeah, you plug it in, there's an LED light on it. And what you do next is, once you've got these things powered up, go to the internet somehow on your phone or on your laptop, and you go to the helium.com page, and you sign up for a free account on our dashboard. Once you get into our dashboard, you'll see that you can enter in a unique registration ID from the actual device. So we have IDs or MAC addresses, right, on the radio, on the gateway. And once you enter those things in, they're kind of small, so you got to write them down or take a picture of it. You can enter those things into your dashboard, and once it's entered in a dashboard, they're associated to your account. And now, magically, voila, you're managing that module, and you're managing now the gateway. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do, so by default, what we provide is we provide MQTT to a temporary Helium storage area in the cloud. So we've got our stuff's hosted on AWS. So you can just start piping stuff on the dashboard to a default, container, right? That's on Helium's dashboard. Or
gotcha. So you don't need a cloud channel.
By default, yeah, you don't have to, but I think most people want to send it to their cloud. And so, yeah, you could, if you just want to test it, you could certainly do that and test it. But what most people will do next is go to their instance of AWS or Google Cloud Platform or Azure and start setting up their IoT project within that environment. And then the association now comes from creating the project, giving it a registration name, creating a private key, and bringing both of those things to the dashboard. And what happens is you just basically cut and paste from Google Cloud to the Helium dashboard. And what we'll do is, once we know that information, we'll do the work to go up from the back end to Google, to Azure, to Salesforce, to AWS, and we will associate your container, your environment in that cloud to the dashboard, so that at the end device, your edge device, your sensor knows to send the information to your cloud. And that just happens now.
That's great. What cloud channels do you offer?
By default, we
Yes.
offer MQTT to us within Helium if you don't have one. If you have your own private cloud, you're running your own web services like a Heroku or something, you can channel it to that. By default, you can create a channel to Google Cloud Platform, Salesforce.com, Microsoft Azure, and Amazon AWS. It's all working by default. So as soon as you log in, you can see that stuff. It's all there.
So all the big players.
Yes.
And then what if I'm not using one of the big players? Is there an option for me?
Absolutely. You can actually create your own channels if you want. So if you're running your own private cloud environment, and it's all VMware or whatever, you can create your own VMware channel if you like, going to your own environment. Or if you're using Alibaba Cloud or something, you can even add that. All of that's pretty simple to do.
It's extensible, basically, if you're not using. Okay, great. So let's talk about security. This is always such a big deal.
Yeah.
What steps has Helium taken to secure this flow of data?
Yeah, I think there's a number of steps here. So what we've done is at the hardware level, we've inserted the capability on our radio module to accept X509 certificates. And so we've got a chip on that module. It's like an ECC 508 chip. And what you can do is you can create your own private key, an X509 key that will be on the chip itself. So when you activate the Atom, when you activate the little radio module, one of the first things you're going to be asked to do is actually to initiate a creation of a private key that no one's going to know. Only it's in hardware, so only the Atom, the radio module itself on the chip will know what that key is. Mm-hmm. And what that will do is allow you to create public keys to interface with it. So there's a whole key process that's managed by our dashboard in our cloud router that can do that for you. So this is actually an important concept for people that aren't clear on this. This is important in that we are able to create a secure channel of communications over RF, so that your edge device, let's say you're the security gate, and whether the gate's open or closed, you don't want that information to be understood by anyone else, because when the sensor broadcasts using RF, it's broadcasting to anyone in the world. And so what we've done is allow the radio to broadcast in a fully encrypted manner. So it's going to say, hey, the gate's open, guys, and it's going to be fully encrypted. Only the person with the key to decrypt that can understand what that sensor is saying. And so that decryption is going to happen now in your cloud versus somewhere else. And so what we've done is we created a very secure encrypted channel between the edge radio all the way to your cloud instance on Azure or AWS.
So the data is encrypted even as it goes through the Helium?
Yeah. So the data is encrypted even as it goes through us. We've developed a really clever way of managing that for Google, for Azure, for AWS, so that you can do this per device. So what we've done is you could have 10,000 of these radios out there, giving you information fully encrypted on their own dedicated channel. And what we've done is we've created what we call ghost ride. We're ghost riding the cloud here for you. We're going to create that and simulate that so that Google, Azure, and Amazon, they think they're seeing all of it, and they're able to actually communicate to each one discreetly. But we're actually managing all the keys for them, so that the complexity is no longer dependent on the user. So today, I think Google, Azure, and Amazon, they have some limitations in how you can manage IoT X509 certs. And so we've actually solved that problem for them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So then basically the data, from the time it's transmitted from that Atom to the time it hits my cloud instance of whatever,
yes,
encrypted.
Yes.
So the risks basically are the device itself, physical access to the device,
That's
my
right.
data is not encrypted before I send it.
Yes.
And how carefully I handle it in my own application on, let's say, AWS or Azure
Sure.
or whatever, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
But, yeah, that's
So-
great. And
Yeah.
I like it.
The comms is is encrypted. You say something that's really important for your listeners, which is if you're building an app and you have a sensor out there, you can actually force encryption to happen at the data source. We're just think of us as just as the communications channel. We're the envelope. We're going to secure the envelope. But if you want at your application layer, you can secure the actual letter, right? So imagine you writing a letter that's fully encrypted. It doesn't matter if the envelope's breached or not. Even if the envelope's compromised, as long as your letter's encrypted, no one will understand it, right?
Right.
So at the actual Arduino or the machine level itself, you can encrypt your data so that only your application in Google Cloud or Azure understands it. That's another layer of encryption.
Right. Well, it's similar to being, if I have a file and I encrypt it on my machine and then I send it via HTTPS.
Correct.
I've got 2 layers of encryption there.
Exactly.
Protecting me.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
All right. That's really encouraging to hear. Like I said, I'm not a security expert, but I follow security pretty carefully. And I really like to hear this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Frank.
No. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to touch on it again. We talked about this just a few minutes ago about the problems of managing all of these devices, and I think you've touched on it a couple of times here. That Helium provides some really unique features to be able to manage all of those. Is there anything else in the platform for, I'm thinking about those deployments of 10,000, right?
Right. I think something for folks to note is that I don't think there are many folks out there that can give you a discrete capability to manage one sensor. If you have a population of, let's say, 10,000 sensors out there, and you want to update number 25, right? Sensor number 25 typically in most deployments will be grouped, and they'll be part of a group or part of a cohort, and you're only able to update the group or the cohort. Because to actually get to that one sensor number 25, your entire system needs to be able to talk to that one discreetly. And that's what we've provided. We've provided the ability for you to talk to that one sensor number 25 out of 10,000 and discreetly manage that one sensor. There's a lot of engineering that has to happen to get that done, right? We talked about the X509 certs. We talked about the connection to the cloud and how to manage that so that, Azure understands that this isn't a neighborhood or a cohort. This is an actual individual sensor that's out there.
Right. That's pretty interesting and fairly unique, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think so. And I think only because it's just really hard to do that. It's really hard to do that on RF. We're talking about 900 megahertz, right? We're not talking about TCP IP all the way to the edge, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me about what resources does Helium offer to developers?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, if you're interested, we have a whole, get started path and documentation online. You can go to helium.com/dev, DEV, and there are libraries of how to get started. It's not that hard, right? I would break this down into 3 parts. There is the Atom, which is the comms module. And as long as you've got a sensor or you've got your Arduino or Raspberry Pi kit, I think you'll know how to do this. You can plug our XB form factor comms module into your edge compute device. There's one set of get started stuff there that you can look at, and I think we even provide some tutorials on how to code or manage the Raspberry Pi and Arduino portion of this. The other piece to look at is our gateway. This is the element. This is the device that's going to listen to the radio. That's super easy to set up, and I would say that's like plug in the power, plug in the Ethernet port to your router at home or whatever, or your office, and then off you go. And then the third piece to look at is really our dashboard and your cloud environment. That would be the third area to look at. And there's a bunch of, get started stuff. The dashboard sign up is super easy. Just go online, you can find it, sign up for free. And then it's really taking our dashboard and joining that to your Google Cloud or your Microsoft Azure environment, which is all the documentation is there. We even have like help buttons that you could click on to help you through that process. So we even help you navigate through Microsoft Azure if you need it.
Nice.
It's all there. Yeah.
That's great. And so,
sorry to interrupt. If you have additional questions and you still need help, we do have a Slack community channel, so you can contact us on Slack, and we'll support you for free. There's no charge. If you want us to respond in minutes or whatever, I think we have a support package you can pay for, but we're always on Slack typically.
Yeah, so basically community support, and then you've got the enterprise support packages at various levels for people who might need support for their business or some kind of SLA.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. So anything exciting that we can look forward to coming up?
Yeah, we're working on some really cool things. I would say, I think, for folks that are really interested, I'd encourage them to try this stuff out. And the beautiful thing is we're always improving, always innovating. And I would say in the next, 6 months or sooner, we're going to come out with a better radio with longer range. We're going to come out with an even better form of security that I can't talk about right now, but it's going to be a different approach to securing your devices overall. Mm-hmm. And I think the combination of the two is going to allow people to do some really unique applications and solve really, I think, important problems that just can't be solved today with what's available. So we're super excited about what's coming.
That's great. I love the kind of innovations that say it's really exciting and I can't talk about it yet. It just fills me with excitement to know what's coming. So great. And you're also running a contest.
Yes. Yeah, we've partnered with Hackster.io and Google Cloud Platform and Spark Fund, and we've got this really cool contest where go to the Hackster site, look up the Helium IoT contest, where the cash prize, I think in total is like $16,000 or something. The first prize is $10,000. Second prize is like I can't remember how much, like $4,000 or $5,000, and third prize is like $1,000 or something. So there's something for everyone, and all you got to do is go to. We even give you, I think, a discount code to buy this stuff from Spark Fund. But sign up for the contest. Go to Spark Fund, buy some of the components. It's fairly inexpensive, and give it a try. Tell us that your cool idea. Create something and show it off. And we'll be judging this, I think, in a month and a half or so. And so, there's still time. I would hurry up and go do it. It'd be fun.
Yeah, that's great. And we will have all of these URLs in the show notes. So
perfect.
You can check that out.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Frank, this is really exciting. I love to hear about Helium and everything cool that you're doing. Do you have any closing thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, I think for folks listening, if you've been in the IoT business or market, as a veteran now over the last 5-6 years, it's really difficult. It's a difficult space to be in. And if you're an IoT enthusiast and you're coming in, get ready. It's a lot of hard work. And what Helium's trying to do is make the connectivity piece of it, or the messy middle, the fragmented area, super easy. We want to make it so that your edge compute idea, your cool sensor, can easily connect, like plug and play connect, turn it on, it just connects to a network that can feed that information to your application in your cloud. And so that middle piece is just there. And I don't know how else to describe this. I think that maybe the only way to describe it is we want to be like a decentralized machine network for your machine. We want your device to be smart and to be able to connect independent of humans. It's like an internet for machines, right? And that's what Helium's trying to build. So check us out. Hopefully we can make it happen together.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so if a listener wants to get in touch or learn more, what do you recommend? Where do you want to send them?
Yeah, come to our website, helium.com. If you want to send us an email, send us an email at hello@helium.com, or look us up on Slack. We're just, look at Helium on Slack. We're there, and we're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. I think we're now on Instagram. I think we're even on Discord. We're on Telegram. We're on everything. There's so many things out there, guys.
Right. No kidding. That's great. And if folks happen to be in the San Francisco area.
Oh yeah, come by. Come visit us. We're in the heart of San Francisco on 1663 Mission Street, number 250. So if you know San Francisco, that's where we are. Or send us an email or Slack us and come by, check out our stuff. We're happy to show you and talk to you about what we're doing. We want to tell the world what's happening. So everyone's welcome.
Well, that's great. And Frank, I just want to tell you what a pleasure it's been to speak to you today. Really excited about your product, and thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you guys. I certainly appreciate your time, Matt and Cliff. This is a great show. I wish you guys the best. Please stay in touch, and anyone listening, give us a holler.
Thank you. We'll do, and maybe we'll see you in San Fran soon.
Absolutely.
Once again, I'd like to thank Frank Mong, Chief Operating Officer from Helium, for spending some time answering our questions. What a great interview, don't you think, guys?
Oh, just awesome. Just Frank's such a great guy, and going through everything he did with us today, and I hope one of our listeners decides to go for the contest and wins the 10K. That'd be just great.
Yeah, it really seems like I love the concept, and I love the execution. From what I've seen, it's really a cool product. I'm super excited about it. So
yeah, we'll have to get one of these kits down to you, Matthew.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've already got ideas. So folks, remember, if you have feedback, you can shoot us a message at podcast@gearforgesoftware.com, or you can find us on Twitter @GearforgeIoT, and we would love to hear from you. Get in touch. That just about wraps things up for this week's episode. So guys, do you have anything fun planned for the weekend? Cliff, what about you?
Well, as you know, Matthew and Zeineb, spring, it looks like, has finally gotten here. We're going to hit mid-60s this weekend. Woo! So I am going to go work in the yard. I've got some bird feeders I need to hang and lots of sticks that need picked up. So I'm going to spend as much time outside as I can this weekend.
That sounds like fun. Zeineb, what about you?
I'm organizing an international walking tacos party. However that combination came to exist is beyond me, but I just picked up the flags this morning, and so it's going to be fun. And then I'm going to work on the Britney Spears. It's got to happen.
Awesome. I feel like we need to take two steps back here, and you need to explain what a walking tacos party is.
Oh, okay. So you have a bag of Doritos, you mush it up, you add the ingredients that you'd usually have on a taco, and then you eat it with a fork, and it is delicious.
I have seen this before. I didn't know that was what it was called.
So is this like a full-size bag of Doritos like you'd get at a gas station or a grocery store is what I'm envisioning?
Well, I don't feel like being that generous, but I mean, you go for it.
Yeah, I've seen the personal size.
Oh, I think those are mini size, Matthew. Come on now.
Yeah.
If I'm eating the tacos, I'd want the bigger one.
But it's a walking taco because it's like in the bag, right? Like it's easy.
Walk around with it.
You walk and you eat it. It's
that
great.
is so cool.
Yeah. What about you, Matthew?
Something. Oh, so I'm gonna take a walk without tacos. With an old friend at Lake Nokomis in Minneapolis. So that's gonna be fun. Again, feel like that's a good Minnesota spring activity. And also, it is library book sale season. So our local library has their book sale going on right now. So my wife and I went last night. Amanda's been back today. We'll probably go back tomorrow. So that's good. And then surrounding communities having them this weekend too. So it's a great time to go pick up some books for $0.25 or something like that. And on Sunday, they have the buy a bag for $1 or whatever it is, like just fill up the bag. So as book people, that's kind of fun. You never know what you're going to find. When I went last night, I found a manual for Turbo Pascal from 1988 and also Turbo C++. I didn't buy either of them because I don't need them, but it was fun to look at them.
So if you can imagine, everybody, I'm going to give you a vision of Matthew's basement. It is wall-to-wall books, right? They have their own personal library, and it's quite the collection because they get it from everywhere. So it's just packed full of books, organized to the T. They got an entire like card catalog too, one of the old-time ones with the pull-out desk type things. So
to be fair, he is exaggerating a little bit. However, in the past, our library was not so far from what you just described. Well, yeah, we do love our books though. So lots of fun. All right. Well, thank you folks for listening, and we hope you'll join us again for next week's show. Until then, so long and be well. Take care, guys.
Bye, everyone.